how we can coexist in such a way that there is minimal suffering, and when we leave from here, then we are not bound to come back again to suffer. So how many of you are interested in such a voyage, in such a journey, where you have full compatibility, minimum suffering, full enjoyment, and when you leave, then there is no possibility of suffering again? Please raise your hand, those who are really interested. You're not interested. So this is the crux of Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is the manual of human life. How to live life. One of my devotee friends says, how to live life king size. Or for girls, it is queen size. And while you are in this world, you live without being in a miserable condition. See, miseries are bound to be there. In this world, what are the four miseries? Anyone know what are the four miseries? Which anyone and everyone is affected. Is there any misery in this world, or there is no misery? There is only enjoyment. How many of you feel there is only enjoyment in this world? There is no misery. Have you experienced any misery? Yes or no? Did you experience any misery in this world so far in your age? Yes or no? The Bhagavad Gita teaches us that there are only four miseries in this material existence. You want to know? The first is birth. It is such a painful situation that the baby has to, is confined within the womb of the mother. Isn't it? Just imagine. If we are made to remain in a small room, or this big room, for even 9 hours, without being permitted to go out, how you will feel? You will feel suffering. Second is disease. In this world, however one may have a healthy body or a strong body or a stout body, but he is subject to disease. And whenever he experiences disease, suffering or enjoyment? Suffering. And is there any one exception who can, with certainty say that I will never be diseased, or no disease can touch me? One pandemic or epidemic comes, millions are gone. Even the strong and the stout, they are gone. So the second misery in this material existence is disease. And the third suffering is, which is inevitable for everyone, and that is called old age. Old age. When your body and your senses and your limbs are not strong. Can anyone refuse to become old? Is it possible? So in the old age, it is very acute pangs and suffering. And the fourth is the final suffering, which is in the form of death. So whether you are the ordinary person, or whether you are the prime minister, or you may be the head of the commanding forces, can anyone avoid? It is applicable for each and every. So Bhagavad Gita trains us, teaches us how to live in this world and not be affected by these four aspects. Can any institute or any expert teach you about this? If you go to a doctor, the most recognized or the most renowned consultant, as they call it today, and you pay him whatever he desires, can he stop these four things in your life? But Bhagavad Gita teaches us how you can cross beyond these four things. So this is very, very interesting. And it is in our best interest that we must receive this knowledge. But unfortunately, most of us have no cognizance of what this knowledge is. So then, in the absence of having this knowledge and having this advantage, what we do? We suffer. See, miseries are inevitable, but suffering is optional. Optional. Suffering is optional. So if you are well trained and well educated, then you will not be in that same stage in what others are. So you want to know about Bhagavad Gita? So we will have to approach it differently. And the approach is called prayers. We approach Bhagavad Gita through prayers, not through our mind or intellect. This knowledge is beyond both. Normally, how do we acquire knowledge? Through our mind and intellect. But through our mind and intellect, we cannot have the knowledge of the transcendence, about the spirit soul, which is beyond both mind and senses. So we need to have the spiritual approach, the devotional approach. And that approach is the approach through prayers. So you have that handout in your hands, all of you. So we will recite the prayer, and we are discussing the 5th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is presented in 18 chapters. So in continuity, I'll give you a little recap, and then, you just hear. When you are here, just hear. Om Ajnana-timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Pad Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavansha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Hare Krishna. So Bhagavad Gita is presented in a very interesting dialogue. It is a dialogue or a conversation between two young men. Many a times, most of the people with the Indian mindset, they think that Bhagavad Gita is for those who are retired. No. Was Arjuna retired? No. Arjuna was hyperactive. He was the best archer of his time, and he had the prowess to fight with thousands and thousands of mighty warriors alone. And Krishna was also in his exuberance, in his youth. So Bhagavad Gita is not for old people. Old people actually cannot understand Bhagavad Gita. It is not possible. If you have not understood it in youth, then it is almost going to be impossible to understand Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is a exchange between two young men. And what is Bhagavad Gita? The Bhagavad Gita is a set of questions and answers. What do you say now? FAQs. But Bhagavad Gita questions are not frequently asked because it requires some awakening. If a person is dormant, if he is not wakeful to his level of being eternal or spirit, if he identifies himself with matter, then these questions will never come in his life. So this is a question which is of an awakened personality. One who wants to achieve the highest goal, the success in life. Every one of us wants to have success. Who does not want to have success? But we do not know what is the formula to success. So Krishna encodes the formula, the eternal formula to success. That formula of success given by Krishna was 5,000 years back. And it is still the most successful formula. No formula in this history has ever come anywhere near to what is the formula of Bhagavad Gita. So Arjuna begins to inquire from Krishna. And Krishna gives the reply. So this is a question-answer session. And there are many topics on which there is this dialogue. But principally it is said that the topics of Bhagavad Gita can be, encircled on 5 aspects. There are 5 subject matters of Bhagavad Gita. Any one of you know? You are 5? Huh? What are the 5 subject matters of Bhagavad Gita? For that matter, what is the subject matter of Bhagavad Gita? What is the understanding? ऐसा तो नहीं है. We have heard about Bhagavad Gita. Na? Being in India, from our childhood, we are hearing that there is a book called Bhagavad Gita. So what is Bhagavad Gita? What is the subject matter of Bhagavad Gita? Any thoughts? Huh? Sorry? Give the mic.
Transcendental knowledge.
Transcendental?
Knowledge.
Acha. Knowledge. Okay, very good. The first thing that comes to the mind when we hear Bhagavad Gita is that it talks about knowledge. Okay, very good. Yes, it talks about knowledge. And knowledge about whom? Huh? Yeah. Knowledge about?
Way of living life.
Way of living life. Yeah. So, whose life? So, the first subject matter of Bhagavad Gita is the self. Where is our interest? We have our own interest. Huh? Selfish interest. So Bhagavad Gita first clarifies that who is the self? Is self the body? Is self the mind? Or is self something beyond both body and mind? So Bhagavad Gita gives the first clear identity of who the self is. So it talks about Jiva. Jiva means the living entity, who we are. That is the first subject matter. That is why Bhagavad Gita is relevant for everyone. Like the sun. It is compared to the sun. When the sun shines, does it cease whether it is on the sun is on the Pakistani side or the Indian side? The sun is universal. And sunshine is required for everyone. Without sunshine, can we survive? No. We cannot survive. So similarly, this knowledge is inevitable for everyone. Because this knowledge removes the layers of ignorance which is there in our heart for millions of lifetimes. And what is that ignorance? What, yeah? Give the mic. Good. Let us have some question answer session. Speak. There is no negative marking. If the answer is wrong, don't feel shy. Try. Okay. Yeah, but consciousness is something which is abstract. So what is the biggest ignorance that we are having? Bhagavad Gita is talking about knowledge. So what knowledge does? It removes ignorance. So what is the root of all ignorance? Huh? Yeah, what is that ignorance? So what is I? Is our misidentification. What we consider ourselves to be the body. Whereas the body is ever changing. The body is compared to the cloth. Like today you are wearing jacket. Are you the jacket? In summers will you wear this jacket? No. So the body is compared to the garment, to the outer garment. Example is given if somebody is drowning and if you save his garment and you claim that you have saved the person. Have you saved the person? No. So similarly, the body is just the outer covering. And what is within the body is the owner of the body, which is called soul. So Bhagavad Gita gives the identification, the proper identification as to who we are. We are both beyond body and beyond mind. See, body is always changing. And there is birth, there is boyhood, and then there is youth, and then there is old age, and finally body dies. So body is ever changing. And what about mind? Ever changing. But the problem, why we are in the state of suffering, because we misidentify with both. Either we consider ourselves to be body, the body is constantly changing. And we identify ourselves with our mind when we are on the mental plane. So on both these aspects, till the time we identify ourselves wrongly with the body or with the mind, what will be the situation? We will continue to suffer. So Bhagavad Gita's knowledge removes the root of suffering. And what is the root of suffering? Now tell me. Ignorance. Very good. You are all intelligent girls. So it removes the root of suffering, which is ignorance. And it brings the source of pleasure, which is knowledge. Knowledge. If one is situated in knowledge, one will always be in a blissful state. The cause of suffering is ignorance. So once the root of ignorance is removed, then you are situated in the knowledge. Then one will not be affected. This is what this chapter teaches us. I'm building some foundation to explain. So this 5th chapter that we are discussing, it talks about karma yoga, action in Krishna consciousness. So what is that knowledge compared to one who is Krishna conscious? One who knows who he is. He also knows who the Supreme Lord is. And he is established in his relation with the Supreme Lord. That is called yoga. Or that is called the linking process. So Bhagavad Gita gives us the link. Why we are suffering in this material world? Because we have lost the link. The missing link is connected through the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. So Bhagavad Gita is very, very unique. So first it gives us the comprehension, the clarity as to who we are. And it removes the misidentification. It gives us the right identity. Our identity is spiritual. Spiritual means that neither it has birth nor it will die. So that which will never die, what is there to lament? Who is lamenting? A person who is in ignorance. So when we come to this knowledge of this understanding that we are not this body, we are soul, then most of our problems, all of our material problem will become very minuscule. All the problems exist because of our wrong identification. So Bhagavad Gita gives us this clarity and conviction that we are not this body. Second, it teaches us about what this material universe is. Again, you see the nature of this universe. What is the nature of this universe? Expanding. The earth's circumference is every day increasing. So what is the nature of this universe? Think, give a little thought to it. What is your experience? What is this universe? Isn't it unpredictable? Uncertain? Why? Because there is constant change. This universe also, now you have winter, isn't it? But after 3 months, will you experience the same winter? No. So things are always changing. Nothing is permanent here. So this material nature is always changing. And the influence of change is forced upon us. Yes or no? How it functions? It functions through its 3 modes. Like, 3 ropes. So what is this material nature? So that understanding or that comprehension is given in Bhagavad Gita. That what this universe is, how it acts, how it influences, and what are the changes which happen in this world. And if you see deeply, both the living entity Jiva and the material nature, they are controlled. Are they independent? Can we say we are independent? If we were independent, then we can stop our old age. We can stop our disease. Can we stop our death? So that means we are controlled, isn't it? Is material nature independent? If material nature would be independent, tomorrow you might not have, the sunrise. Is it possible? Is it independent? That means there is someone who is controlling. There is a perfect harmony, isn't it? If you study the material nature, what do you observe? What is the second thing you observe? That there is perfect harmony. Everything is harmonized. There is the awakening with the dawn, then there is the sunrise, then there is the midday, then you have the sunset and the night. Everything is in order. Nothing is random. So that means that there is someone who is controlling both. Agree? Both is controlled. They're not independent. So who is that controller? Who is controlling both the living entity and the material nature? That is called Ishvara, or the Supreme Lord. So the third subject matter of Bhagavad Gita is Ishvara. So who is Ishvara? What are his powers? And how he functions through that powers. So that is Ishvara. And living entity, while they are in this world, or while they are in this material body, what they do? They perform actions, isn't it? Right now, what action you are performing? One at a time. Yeah. Someone said something from here? Allow the newcomers to speak. Why you have to, yeah, what is the action that you are performing now? Yes, very good. You are hearing, isn't it? Do you agree or you don't agree? You are hearing. You are hearing through your ears. So, every moment while we are in this world, while we are in this material existence, while we are in this material body, there is some action which is happening, either gross or subtle. Even while we are sleeping, what we are doing? Yes, we are breathing, isn't it? We are performing action. Or at times we are dreaming also. So what is active? Our mind, our subtle body is active. The gross body might be taking rest, but the subtle body is active. So there is at every moment. So Krishna explained that in the 3rd chapter. He says that nahi karshit shanamapi jatu tishthanti akarmakrit karate hi avasha karma sarve prakriti jarguna. That one is forced to act helplessly according to the qualities he has acquired from the material modes. And no one can refrain from doing anything, not even for a moment. So very interesting. So Bhagavad Gita is a comprehension about the 3 basic realities of who we are, Jiva, what this material nature is, and Ishvara. So our relation with the material world and how the material world and the living entity is controlled by the Supreme Lord. Yeah. So this is very interesting. Very, very interesting. The Jiva desires, the material nature it enables, and the Supreme Lord sanctions. So this is the interaction between the 3. And while performing any and every action in this world, which is called as the law of karma. So what is that law of karma? How it acts? How one can be free from the law of karma? That's another very, very interesting subject matter. So this chapter also speaks about, it gives an example of a lotus leaf. You know a lotus flower? The lotus flower blossoms where? Yeah, in the water, in the pond or a lake, or even, in a reservoir of water. But there is a uniqueness in this lotus flower. The lotus leaf, although it is touching the water, but it remains untouched by the water. So that is what this Bhagavad Gita teaches us, that while we are in this material world, we remain in this material world, but as if we are not in this material world. Padma patram ivambhasa. And also there is the 5th subject matter, which is eternal time. It is called Kal. So these are the 5 subject matters. Now you will remember. Can you revise? What are the 5 subject matters? One after the other. What is the first subject matter? Yeah, speak. Jiva. Yeah, about us, Jiva. About me. Bhagavad Gita gives knowledge about me. Who am I? Is this question answered anywhere in the world? Who am I? No. But the wise man, they ask, who am I? Am I this body? Am I the mind? Or am I something which is beyond? So Bhagavad Gita gives the full comprehension. In the 2nd chapter, it begins. Krishna begins the discourse by giving knowledge about the self, which is beyond both body and mind. Okay, what is the 2nd subject matter? Yeah, material nature. Prakriti. So material nature is cyclical, it is always changing, but it is controlled. And it is controlled by Ishvara. This is the 3rd subject matter. And while the Jiva is in this material existence, it is influenced by Kala and Karma. Isn't it? Within the purview of Kal, which is eternal time, whatever action he performed, it is called karma. So Bhagavad Gita gives comprehension or knowledge or understanding or clarity on this 5 subject matter. Now tell me, is Bhagavad Gita a religious book? Is it a sectarian book? It is to do with some faith. It is for everyone. Whoever has come in this human form of life to have understanding on these 5 subject matters. So Krishna is enlightening and educating Arjuna by answering Arjuna's question. And with Arjuna, he is given opportunity to all of us without being on the battlefield like Arjuna. None of us are in the battlefield. In a way, we are, because there is always the battle between our mind and between our intellect. Yes or no? You experience? Yeah. So how to win that battle? So Krishna is giving us this knowledge. Krishna is giving us the ammunition. How to win the war. So first, Krishna spoke about the living entity being eternal and material body being temporary. And in any case, that which is temporary can never be endured. Can it be endured? No. In history, you would have read that in Egypt, have you read? In Egypt, what they were making? Mummies. But can the mummies, are they alive? They remain dead. It is only again a layer of deeper ignorance that they are thinking that by preserving the body, can they preserve the person? No. And that kind of practice is now over because it is useless. So Krishna is saying that which cannot be endured, we should never lament. And that which is eternal, for that we should always be enthusiastic. Nāsate vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate sata, ubhyoropi drishtavantas, tvanyos tattva darshibhi. This is 2nd chapter and which verse? Verse number 15. Verse number 15. So Krishna is bringing us from the temporary, from the changing, to awaken ourselves to come to the consciousness of eternity. So this is the first lesson which Krishna gives in the 2nd chapter. So Bhagavad Gita 2nd chapter talks about the difference between body and soul. And how to understand this knowledge? This knowledge cannot be understood just by discussing. What one has to do? One has to apply it. And if one has to apply it, one requires a trainer, a teacher, or a guide, or a guru. Not independently. I'll give you one example. Arjuna was the student of Dronacharya. And there was one person more who wanted to be a student of Dronacharya, but Dronacharya did not accept him. You know the name? Eklavya. And what he did? He practiced on his own. What is the result? What was the result? He did not achieve anything. So in material science, you do not achieve. If you were to receive doctorate, can you sit at home, take all the book and become PhD? It's possible. You have to come to IRI. So this science of spirituality, or the science of the self, is only understood by spiritual teachers. So Arjuna took shelter of Krishna. So Gita means guru or guide. So Krishna became the guide and Arjuna became the student. And what Krishna gave the lessons, Arjuna accepted and applied. And so he could realize. This is very important. And in the 3rd chapter, Krishna gave the process, how to realize that one is not this body but spirit. We all speak, we are not this body. But do we have this realization? No, we lack the realization. Realization can only come when we apply. And what is the application? Application is to perform selfless activity. It is called nishkam karma. So Krishna gave the principle of yoga. Everyone in this material world wants to enjoy. It is bhoga. So Krishna elevated in the 3rd chapter from connecting Arjuna to perform yoga. So it is called karma yoga. Actions. Connection with the Supreme Lord through performing actions. And in the 4th chapter, Krishna gave transcendental knowledge. Knowledge can only be received when one is in connection. Without connection, one cannot. Can you receive knowledge without coming here, without coming in touch with your teachers? No. So that is this transcendental knowledge. And now, in this 5th chapter, what we are discussing, Krishna is talking about karma yoga, action in Krishna consciousness, which is higher than what he spoke in the 3rd chapter. Like when you were in class 5, you studied math, isn't it? A student studies math. When he comes in class 10, he studies math, isn't it? And when he is doing MSc, or maybe he is doing even PhD, he studies math. But is the same math? No. It is at a different, higher dimension. So similarly, this 5th chapter is talking about, he's talking about karma yoga, which he spoke about the 3rd chapter. But here, the most important aspect is action in Krishna consciousness. So what is Krishna consciousness? Our connection with the Supreme Lord. Performing action when one is connected. At this present stage, what is the level? We are disconnected. So we perform action which becomes binding to us, becomes a source of bondage. It brings reaction. Any action that we perform, what it does? It brings a counteraction or a reaction. But here Krishna is teaching us through Arjuna that how to perform the action which will liberate us, rather than keep us in the bondage. So we are now on the 13th verse. Today we will study the 13th verse. 12th we have not done. Okay. I thought we have done 12. No? You tell me. You are the coordinator. Okay. So in the 1st verse of the 5th chapter, Arjuna inquires with a question. Arjuna inquires that saying, when knowledge is superior, why are you asking me to perform action? When knowledge is superior, then let me go retire and not perform action. Because action, what it does? It brings sinful reaction. So, but Arjuna is very intelligent. He does not decide on his own. Many times when we are bewildered, what we do? We take our own decision, and our decision is based on our own likings and dislikings. So what will be the result? That most of the time we may not be right. And if we take wrong decision, the repercussion or the impact of it is that we suffer. But Arjuna was intelligent. He did not decide on his own. He inquires. He inquires from his teachers that you please tell me which is better. Whether renunciation of action or performing devotional action. What is devotional action? Action in Krishna consciousness. So Krishna explained that for you, Arjuna, what is easier? Action in Krishna consciousness than renunciation. It is easier. So Krishna explains that in the verses from 2nd to 6th, that how karma yoga is better. And then in the last section, the section that we are discussing, from 7 till 12 verses, Krishna talks about the conduct and the characteristics of one who is connected. One who is a karma yogi. Who is a karma yogi means he is performing his action with connection with the Supreme Lord. So Krishna explains that such a person who is performing action in Krishna consciousness, he is never entangled. You see the 7th verse? I'm just revising it. That although he is performing all work, yoga yukto vishuddhatma, but he is kurvan apina lipyate. Although he is performing all kinds of work, but because he is performing work in devotion, then he is never entangled. And he is in knowledge. He is sarva-bhutātma bhutātma. He sees everyone in connection to me, and he sees everything in connection to me, and he sees me everywhere in everyone's heart. So he is dear to everyone, and everyone is dear to him. That is the perfection of life. That we become dear to everyone, and everyone else could become dear to us. Just imagine what will be life. So how this is possible? When one is in Krishna consciousness. This is the first merit, first advantage. That although working, he is not entangled by the reaction. You have heard karma-free food? You have heard? You not heard? Karma-free food? You not heard? Okay. So this is karma-free. Any action and every action will not bind us with the reaction. So this is the art of performing action. Krishna explained in the second chapter. What is the verse? 2.50. Buddhi yukto jahati hai, ubhay sukrito dushkrito, tasmad yogaya yujjasva, yoga karmasu. Very good. You know the verse. Very good. Yoga karmasu kaushalam. What is that kaushal? Kaushal means the art. The art. What is the art of work? That you perform also and you do not get any reactions. That is yoga karmasu kaushalam. Here. This is yoga yukto vishuddhatma vijitatma jitendriya sarva-bhutātma bhutātma kurvan api na lipyate. Although performing all kinds of action, he is not bound by the reaction. So that is the art of work. So Krishna is explaining to us that every action, our action will become an art. It will not bring any reaction. And then the 8th and 9th verse, that Krishna is further saying that although within this world, although within this body, although within the modes, although within the material existence, although as if working, but still, what is his mind frame? He is outwardly performing all action, but inward he is renounced. He is completely detached. So Prabhupada says that a person in divine consciousness, although engaged, and how is engaged? In seeing, in hearing, in touching, in smelling, in eating. So what are the functions performed by the sense organs? The sense organs are coming in contact with the sense objects. But he is not the sense. He is not the body. He is both beyond body and sense. So he is aloof. So he is aloof. He is in knowledge. He does not have a sense of doership. So he is aloof. So that is the 8th and the 9th verse. And then Krishna talks about that he is always free from sin. He is unaffected by sin. His life is so pure that sin cannot touch him. He cannot perform any sinful activity. How? Gives the example of the lotus leaf. As the lotus leaf, although in water, but it does not become affected by the water. Very beautiful verse. Lipyate sena papena padma patram ivamasa. And 11th, another very important characteristic. So why he functions, why he acts? Only sangam tyaktvā ātma-shuddhaye, for the purpose of purification. So he has a very higher purpose. His purpose is not, trying to unite the senses with the sense objects for temporary kind of enjoyment. But his purpose of action is for ātma-shuddhaye. for coming to the platform of realizing his eternal existence. Atma Shuddhai. Okay, so now Krishna is concluding. I will take the 12th verse. I'll begin today's class now. Verse number 12. You are all with me now? Got a link up? This chapter is linking up. They are there. She knows. You know Bhagavad Gita. Very good. 12th verse of the 5th chapter. You can recite after me. Yuktaḥ karma-phalaṁ tyaktvā. Everyone, full attention. Yuktaḥ karma-phalaṁ tyaktvā. śāntim āpnoti naiṣṭhikīm. ayuktaḥ kāma-kāreṇa. phale sakto nibadhyate. Easy, na? One more time. It is very easy to memorize also, not difficult. Just what is required, little bit of interest and little bit of attention. That's all. One more time. Yuktaḥ karma-phalaṁ tyaktvā. śāntim āpnoti naiṣṭhikīm. ayuktaḥ kāma-kāreṇa. phale sakto nibadhyate. So now Krishna is concluding this section. So he's talking about two levels of consciousness. One who is Krishna conscious. What is the feature? He is yuktaḥ. Yukta means one who is always engaged. That means he is always active. So one misconception is, don't think that if you take to spiritual life, you will become inactive. No. Spiritual life is not for lazy and crazies. A spiritual life is for conquest. What you have to conquer? Ignorance. What you have to conquer? Sinful action. What you have to conquer? Your attachments. Is it easy? It is a journey of lifetime. Even one lifetime is less. So the first thing to understand is, one who is Krishna conscious, he is always yuktaḥ. He is always engaged. He is very active. And where is the action? Inside. You remember? What is the purpose of his action? Atma Shuddhaya. Purifying the self. Because unless and until one purifies the self, one will never know the self. That is why no one in this world knows who he is. He does not know that he is a spirit soul. Only when one becomes pure, free from sin and sinful reaction, then only one can realize who he is. In a sinful state, one cannot realize. You try whatever. You read Bhagavad Gita 100 times. Bhagavad Gita is not just a book of information. Bhagavad Gita is a book of transformation. What we have to do? We have to give up those sinful actions. And how he is, what is this level of consciousness? He is karma-phalaṁ tyaktvā. Outwardly he is always engaged, and inward he is always detached, or he is renounced. What is the renunciation or detachment? Phalam tattva. Everyone in this world has motivation, requires motivation to work. What is the motivation? That what will I gain? So the person in Krishna consciousness is not after temporary gains. He has only one goal. The goal is eternal gain. So what he does, for the temporary things, he is least interested. So he is karma-phalaṁ tyaktvā. He gives up the results of his activities. Actually, he offers the results to Krishna. Śāntim āpnoti naiṣṭhikīm. Everyone is looking for Shanti in this world. Everyone wants Shanti. But no one knows what is the formula of Shanti. Bhagavad Gita gives the formula of Shanti. Phalam tyaktvā is the formula for shanti. Understand? To the extent we have attachment, or to the extent we have greed for enjoying or availing the results of our action, to that extent what we will be disturbed. The mind will remain agitated and disturbed. So here Krishna is giving the formula. Karma-phalaṁ tyaktvā śāntim āpnoti naiṣṭhikīm. Naiṣṭhikīm. Naiṣṭhikīm means, Prabhupada says, perfect peace. Unflinching, sorry. Śāntim is perfect and naiṣṭhikīm. So Prabhupada says, the steadily devoted soul, I am first explaining the first line and then I'll come to the next. So this is the person who is in Krishna consciousness, one who is in divine consciousness, one who is yuktaḥ, who is yoga yuktaḥ, who is connected with the Supreme. So he works for Supreme. The results, he is not bothered. And he is always in peace. He is always in peace. His mind is always at peace. So what disturbs the mind is our attachment to results. So the steadily devoted soul attains unadulterated peace. Prabhupada is using a very important word, unadulterated peace. Everything in this world is adulterated. What is it? Unadulterated peace, because he offers the result of his activities to me, Krishna is saying. Whereas, the big question, whereas a person who is not in union with the divine. So first line begins with yuktaḥ and the second line begins with ayuktaḥ. Ayuktaḥ means who is not in divine connection, who is independent. So what the independent or one who is not connected, what he does? Karma-kāreṇa. Kāma-kāreṇa. What is the motivation for him to perform action? Is kāma, lust. Is his enjoying tendency. Phale sakto nibadhyate. From the result of his work, he gets bound. He is attached. His attachment is the cause of his bondage. You have seen a spider? How does the spider get in the web? How he builds the web? Through himself. He secretes the saliva from his mouth, and from that saliva he spins the web, and he gets caught in the same web. Same here. Ayuktaḥ kāma-kāreṇa phalo sakto nibadhyate. Whereas a person who is not in union with the divine, who is greedy for the fruits of his labor, becomes entangled. So Krishna has concluded here. So he is telling Arjuna that do not be very much attached to the result. So Prabhupada explains that the difference between a person in Krishna consciousness and a person in bodily consciousness, okay, two levels of consciousness. In this world, whom you will meet? The later. Those who are in bodily consciousness. Because of the bodily consciousness, the entire cosmetic industry is flourishing. If people will come to spiritual consciousness, then the cosmetic industry will not have any future. Or plastic surgery and so many skin clinics. So the difference between a person in Krishna consciousness and a person in bodily consciousness is that the former is attached to Krishna, whereas the latter is attached to the result of his activities. So it is yuktaḥ and ayuktaḥ. A person who is attached to Krishna and works for him only is certainly a liberated person. Why? Because the reactions will not touch him, will not bind him. He is liberated. And he has no anxiety over the results. Prabhupada is explaining. What is the word he is explaining? Śāntim. Śāntim. So please try to understand. So till the time we work for ourselves, or we have our own agenda, or our own plans, our own aspirations, our own ideas, to that time in our life, we can never ever experience peace. So the peace is not to be experienced from outside. The peace is inside. And when we can attain that peace, when one is karma-phalaṁ tyaktvā. Even if you see this epic of Mahabharata, Dhritarashtra and his sons were ruling, and the Pandavas were in exile. For how many years? 12 and plus 1, 13 years. While they were in power, while they were the, sovereign rulers, who were in anxiety? Were the Pandavas in anxiety or were the Kauravas in anxiety? The Kauravas were in anxiety. Why? Because they were attached to the kingdom, and they were always thinking that when the Pandavas will come and attack us, when there will be war and they might lose the kingdom. So if you deeply study, that anyone and everyone who thinks he is the possessor, he is the owner, or who is the enjoyer of whatever he has in this world, that is the cause of his suffering. And that is the cause of his restlessness. He cannot experience peace. So Krishna is giving us this formula. Very clear that what one has to become? One has to become detached. One has to become renounced. Any relationship you have, what is the relationship in this material world? Attachment. So that relationship is bound to give you pain. Why? Because there is attachment. And attachment is at what level? Bodily level. Bodily consciousness. So very important that we should not unnecessarily become attached, or we should not think that this belongs to me. First understand, who is this me? This body itself is not me. Does the body belong to me? It will be taken away. After a certain interval of time, which is called death, the body will be away. The soul will leave. So it is how much ignorance is there in this world. Just evaluate the level of ignorance. Everyone has come here for a very short period of time. And what is he thinking? That this belongs to me. Nothing belongs to me. I myself do not belong to this world. So how can anything belong to me? So Prabhupada is saying here, and he has no anxiety over the result. In the Bhagavatam, the cause of anxiety over the result of an activity is explained as being one functioning in the conception of duality. That is, without knowledge of the absolute truth. So one cannot experience peace unless and until one has knowledge of the Supreme Lord. And to the extent he is connected, or he is reviving his relationship with the Supreme Lord, to that extent he can experience peace. Simple formula. To the extent he has revived his relationship with the Supreme Lord and he is acting for the Supreme, he can experience peace. Everyone else will remain here disturbed and agitated. And what will be the result? Only one: frustration. As you will see, so-called modern man will experience what? Peace? No. He will only experience frustration, and that frustration will result in depression and ultimately suicide. You take the history of last 50 years and you take it from me in writing for next 50 years. This graph is only going to grow. Now, what are the diseases? Are there more physical disease or mental disease? Mental. This is the reason. Krishna is the supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead. In Krishna consciousness, there is no duality. Why? Because thing is very clear. Krishna is the Supreme Lord and we are his appointed servants. So what this servant has to do? What is the right of the servant? The servant has only one right. What is the right? To serve. Last time I gave the example of a cashier in the bank. The cashier in the bank, can he claim that he has collected the money? He has counted the money, so the money belongs to him. He cannot do that. All that exists is a product of Krishna's energy. This is called knowledge. And Krishna is all good. Therefore, activities in Krishna consciousness are on the absolute plane. You understand what is duality? Duality means that simultaneously there is the feeling of gain and loss, good and bad, victory and defeat, liking and disliking. Both exist. But on Krishna consciousness, there is no duality because there is clarity. What is the clarity? That Krishna is always in the center. One is therefore filled with peace in Krishna consciousness. But one who is entangled in profit calculation, Prabhupada is very practical. Every world in this world is, what are they doing? Profit calculation, isn't it? I am studying now. After I clear MSc, what I want to do? I want to do PhD, or I want to become IRS, or I want to become IAS. What is all this? What kind of calculation is this? Profit calculation, isn't it? A student is thinking about this. Husband is thinking about something else. Wife is thinking about her own profit calculation. Businessman is thinking in terms of money. So the profit may differ from person to person, but everyone is engaged in calculation. But one who is entangled in profit calculation for sense gratification cannot have that peace. This is the secret of Krishna consciousness. So Krishna is revealing the secret. But how many will accept? How many will accept this formula, Krishna's formula? How many? Very rare. Very, very rare. Still, we will think that the material formula is a better formula. This is the secret of Krishna consciousness. Realization that there is no existence besides Krishna is the platform of peace and fearlessness. So if you become Krishna conscious, if you act for Krishna, if you act according to Krishna, then in the life, two things are inevitable. What are the inevitable things? Peacefulness and fearlessness. And in this material world, whether he is the president of US or he is, whoever he is, these two virtues are impossible. Neither he can be peaceful, nor he can be fearless. Okay. Should I take the next verse also? At least let me take. Otherwise it will be too less. So the next section is, so far Krishna was explaining that what is the difference between one who thinks he is a doer and what is the difference between one who thinks who is not the doer. Okay. So this we explained here. And it is the characteristic of a person who is in Krishna consciousness, who is the yogi yuktaḥ. So in the next section from 13, Krishna will explain till 17 that who are the doers and who actually is the doer is a very, very important section. And who is the doer? You understand what is the doer? No? When it is said that only the senses are coming in contact with the sense object, that I am not the doer. The person who is in knowledge is aloof. Then who is the doer? Who performs the action? This is a very important section. 13th verse. So Krishna speaks about the three doers. There is not one absolute doer. There are three doers. This is explained partially in the 3rd chapter. It is explained here in the 5th chapter. And again, Krishna will explain it when he is summarizing in the 18th chapter. So who is the first doer? Who is the first doer? The jiva. sarva-karmāṇi manasā sannyasyāste sukhaṁ vaśī nava-dvāre pure dehī neva kurvan kārayan. So sarva-karmāṇi manasā. So although while he is acting by his senses and his body, but with his mind, he is sannyasyāste, sukhaṁ vaśī. But by his mind, by his mental maturity, what is he doing? Sannyasyāste. He is giving up the attachment to his action. So he is living sukhaṁ vaśī. Vaśī is one who's controlled. So by his mind, he is completely detached. And although by his body, he is always engaged. While working, he is not affected by the result or the outcome of his work. And how is he happily staying? Nava-dvāre pure dehī. He is staying where? In the body. Who is staying in the body? Soul. The soul is within the body. And this body has nava-dvāre. What are the dvāra? You understand? Gates. Like if you have to, previously when you have to enter into a city, that used to be gates. It is not anyone can enter from anywhere. It was well protected. It was well guarded. The king's soldiers used to be there. So he is staying in the nava-dvāre pure. Pure, you understand? City. Puri, na? We say Jagannath Puri. So this is nava-dvāre. This is the city of 9 gates. What is the city of 9 gates? Our body. And while staying in this body of 9 gates is neva kurvan na kārayan. So neither is he working nor is he causing anything to be done. When the embodied living being controls his nature and mentally renounces all actions, mentally, physically engaged, he resides happily in the city of 9 gates, the material body, neither working nor causing work to be done. The embodied soul lives in the city of 9 gates. So very interesting. We should know that our body is compared to the city. Previously, what did Krishna compare the body with? No, body. Body with? What did Krishna compare the body with? Second chapter. Online viewers, what is Krishna compared the body with? Yes, vasansi jinani yatha vihaya navani grihnati naro parani tatha sharirani vihaya jinani. So the body is compared to the garment. So garment, how often we change? Every day. Isn't it? Every season at least. Isn't it? Winter wear is different, summer wear is different. Isn't it? But here Krishna is giving the metaphor or analogy of city. City, do we change every day? No. We stay for a longer duration. So Krishna is saying the embodied soul lives in a city of 9 gates. The activities of the body or the figurative city of the body are conducted automatically by its particular modes of nature. So how the body acts? According to the influence of the mode. Through the influence of material nature. And how material nature works, that we will discuss later more. When we will come to the final 6 sections, the final 6 chapter, then Krishna will speak about the Prakriti mode, or the material manifestation, how it works, how the 3 modes work. The soul, although subjecting himself to the conditions of the body, can be beyond those conditions if he so desires. Owing only to forgetfulness of his superior nature, he identifies with the material body. What is this state called? Ayuktaḥ. Ayuktaḥ. When he is disconnected. And therefore suffers. By Krishna consciousness, one can revive his real position and thus come out of the embodiment. Come out of the embodiment means he can come to realize that he is not this body, he is soul. Therefore, when one takes to Krishna consciousness, one at once becomes completely aloof from the bodily activities. In such a controlled life in which his deliberations are changed. So what we have to change? Our deliberations, our thoughts, our ideas, our conceptions, our aspirations, our plans, our goals. How? With knowledge. If we do not do that, that means knowledge has not sunk in. Because all our ideas, all our plans, all our aspiration is based on what? Ignorance. Considering ourselves to be body or mind. So that is what Prabhupada is saying here. Therefore, one takes to Krishna consciousness, one at once becomes completely aloof from bodily activities in such a controlled life in which his deliberations are changed. He lives happily within the city of 9 gates. So what are these 9 gates? What are the 9 gates? Everyone has the 9 gates. Very good. How many gates are there with the eyes? 2. Yes. 2 eyes. We also have 2 ears and 2 nostrils. But we have 1 mouth. So how many? 7. What are the other 2? What are the other 2 gates? That is done here. 7 ho gaye baba. What are the other 2? Huh? I did not hear. What did you say? What are the other 2? Yeah. Yeah, the genitals and the anus. Anus is used for evacuating, for releasing the waste from the body. That is a gate. And from genitals also we discharge water, isn't it? So these are the 9 gates. So Prabhupada is quoting one verse from Shweta Upanishad. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is living within this body of a living entity, is the controller of all living entities all over the universe. So within the body there is the soul, but also with the soul there is the super soul. That Krishna will explain. The body consists of 9 gates, 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, 2 ears, 1 mouth, the anus and the genitals. The living entity in his conditioned stage identifies himself with the body. Condition means when he is in ignorance, when he is ayuktaḥ, when he is not in connection with Krishna. But when he identifies himself with the Lord within himself, he becomes just as free as the Lord. It's very important. Just as free as the Lord. One becomes as superior as the Supreme Lord. How? By being in oneness. And what is the oneness? When he identifies himself with the Lord means he identifies himself as spirit, not with matter. So he becomes just as free even while in this body. Shweta Upanishad. Therefore, a Krishna conscious person is free from both the outer and inner activities of the material body. So this is the doer as Jiva. So what is the role of material nature? That we will discuss in the next class. That is the 14th verse. And then it will be discussed what is the level of the Supreme Lord as Super Soul. So there is not only one doer or one absolute doer. There are three: the self, the material nature, and also the super soul. And then we will discuss what are the interactions between the three. Okay, so I'll stop here. And if there is any question or any clarification or any challenge, please open up, please ask. If you want any clarification or is there any ambiguity, you ask. Very important chapter, Krishna. So today we learned what is the peace formula. You understood what is the peace formula? What did we learn today? Attachment means suffering. And attachment means remaining always disturbed. And finally it will bring frustration. If you want to be happy, and if you want to be peaceful, and if you want to be fearless, what we have to learn? The art of detachment. Detach. They teach us how the body can become detoxed. Body cannot become detoxed. Body can become only, we can become detached from the body. Hare Krishna. Any question from anyone, even online, those who are hearing? If they have any question or doubt, please ask. And if there is no question, it means either everything has become clear or nothing. Yes, Manoram Prabhu.
Prabhuji, little more clarification about the jiva as the doer here, as it is being told that the body, the material body, due to the modes of nature, it performs some actions, but the role of the soul, Prabhuji, little bit here, I think I'm getting confused here a little bit.
Yeah, the role of this soul is what Krishna is explaining. See the verse again. The role of the soul is what? Sannyasyāste manasā. From the mind, he is remaining detached or unattached or unaffected by the interaction of the modes, the three modes with the body. Krishna has already explained this verse. If you see the 8th and 9th verse, Krishna is giving this principle there also. Neva kinchit karometi yukto manyate tattvavid. See the verse? See it in the book only. Don't go on the screen. You understood? Did you hear the question? You could not hear? Online, your IRI scientist, Dr. Manish Devnath. He is joined us from Qatar. See the 9th verse? 8th and 9th combined. See the final two sentences, the final two lines in the translation. He always knows that only the material senses are engaged with their objects and that he is aloof from them. So the senses are coming in touch with the sense objects. So there is interaction. The effect is of the three modes. So he does not consider himself to be the doer. So here Krishna is speaking here, that manasā sannyasyāste sukhaṁ vaśī. So he is completely convinced that he is not the doer. It is the three modes which are interacting, and because of the influence of the three modes, there is the interaction in this material world, and he is aloof. So he does not consider himself to be the doer. So that is why Krishna is saying, na kurvan, na kārayan. See? Nava-dvāre pure dehī, neva kurvan, na kārayan. Neither working nor causing work to be done. What it means? I'm asking you.
Yeah, no doership mentality here, Prabhuji.
He's free from doership mentality, from false doership. Actually, he can see that the influence of the material nature. That requires some level of awareness, awakening, and purity to be able to see how the modes are interacting. So he is free. He is free. That is why Krishna says, Prakriti kriyamanani guna karmani sarvasha ahankar vimuratma kartahamiti manyate. We read that in the 3rd chapter, but he is not in that level of ignorance. He is not infatuated by false ego. He is situated in knowledge. So he does not have the false sense of doership. He is free from the false sense of doership. Okay? Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All glories to the aspiring devotees.